East Central St. James. I now invite you to open the sectoral debate with your presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is really an immense honor to address this distinguished House for the 34th time as an elected representative of the people of our beautiful country, Jamaica. I'm proud to be the longest-serving cabinet minister today. Yes. No. I was before. Yes. Madam Speaker, although it has been 43 years since I first got elected to this House, it still feels the same sense of pride and duty that I did when I stepped into these hallowed halls on that occasion. Madam Speaker, I take the opportunity to very seriously indicate to all this privilege, because it is a privilege. And it is a privilege given to so few of us, of all the people of our country, to serve the people of this great nation. Firstly, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to God for bestowing me with the health and strength required to discharge my duties with the utmost dedication and diligence. I'm grateful for His blessings, which has enabled me to carry out my responsibilities with some level of effectiveness. Additionally, I am honored to serve as Minister of Tourism and the leader of government business in this honorable House. These positions are a testament to the trust and confidence that my Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, has placed in me to serve my country in these critical roles. For this, Madam Speaker, I am deeply grateful, and I pledge to continue working tirelessly to uphold the confidence my leader and fellow Jamaicans have placed in me. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Madam Speaker, for your unwavering commitment to steering the parliamentary affairs of our nation with such exceptional skill and dedication and assiduity to purpose. I also want to express my gratitude to the clerk and the diligent staff of this honorable House, who have played an invaluable role in ensuring the smooth functioning of our legislative process. Madam Speaker, I cannot overestimate my immense gratitude to my dear wife of 50 years, Conrad, and my son, my daughter-in-law, and my grandchildren, who have been my constant source of strength and support throughout the years. I'm truly blessed to have such a loving and caring family who have always been the wind beneath my wings. I would also like to extend special thanks to my staff at the Ministry of Tourism, including my personal team members. And several of them are here, and we'll make reference to them a little bit from now, as well as my driver and my security details, whose unwavering commitment and hard work have been instrumental in enabling me to carry out my duties with utmost efficiency. And I want to pause also to give special commendation to someone who is a little more than a staff, because he is perhaps my alter ego as well as my man Friday, and he's the man who gets things done, especially when I'm not here, Delano Seavright. Madam Speaker, I also want to express my appreciation to my esteemed colleagues in government, my cabinet colleagues, especially those who work tirelessly to impact the tourism sector directly. I'm truly grateful for their hard work and dedication, which have significantly contributed to the growth and success of this vital industry. Permit me also, Madam Speaker, to say thanks to my colleague members of Parliament, all together who have worked in the best interest of Jamaica, even when we have difference of views, especially on the other side. But the common thread that runs between us all is that deep and abiding commitment to the people of Jamaica and to serve them with utmost dedication and sincerity. And I want to thank you. I must also use the opportunity to pay special respect to the opposition spokesperson on tourism, Senator Janice Allen, and thank her for her conscientious engagements with the task assigned to her. Madam Speaker, the sector has been experiencing great success due in no small part to the diligent work of our tourism industry partners and the industrious efforts of the team I have the pleasure and the honor of leading. Madam Speaker, I must express my sincere gratitude to my permanent secretary, who I believe is perhaps permanent now. She's been an abiding partner over the years, the 11 years that I've been Minister of Tourism. Permanent Secretary Jennifer Griffith has been my permanent secretary. I want to especially thank the chairpersons of the respective public bodies within the ministry, their board members, their executive directors, and the amazing employees of all the bodies within my ministry. Madam Speaker, I want to especially thank the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, its president, Mr. Robin Russell, who is here today. And I would like also to enjoin the former president, Mr. Clifton Wheeler, who is also here and who is celebrating his 49th year as a worker in the tourism industry. And I want especially to commend. Madam Speaker, whilst we're doing that, the team that I call the Dream Team. Yes. Madam Speaker, I know the protocol suggests...
I crave your indulgence. Members, like the Speaker, those of us sitting in the gallery, cannot and ought not to join in the clapping. We leave that for the members of Parliament sitting on the benches.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will ask your permission. I will ask your permission to allow for the Dream Team, Madam Speaker, that I call the Protein Tourism Recovery Task Force, that has taken us from 0 in 2020 to now 120% ahead of 2019, to just stand so that we can recognize them in this honorable house for the work that they have done over the period. And they are here today, Madam Speaker, the Dream Team. These are the persons, Madam Speaker, who, along with others, many others, they're merely the representation of the many others across Jamaica who have put their shoulders to the wheel and have put their heads where we wouldn't even go to ensure that the recovery happened, and we'll be able to talk about that recovery a little later on today. Finally, Madam Speaker, and indeed of most importance in all of my arrangements today, I want to make a special thank you to my constituent, East Central St. James, and the councillors who are here, and my office staff who are here. And that staff has been with me for the better part of 20 years. Madam Speaker, I again ask your permission for them just to stand, my staff from my office in Montego Bay. We have an office there that we've had for 20 years. And my councillors. And I want to thank them. I want to thank them, Madam Speaker.
Members, please, members sitting in the gallery, it is important that we do not participate in what is taking place.
Madam
Please.
Speaker, I apologize for their exuberance, but I understand the emotion.
I know the pride is
and I
overwhelmed.
equally appreciate the concern of the House Leader Emeritus. Madam Speaker, the constituency of East Central St. James has grown, developed, and we have really developed around the business of building human capital. And whilst in my closing later on in the debate, Madam Speaker, I will speak more about the constituency and our performance, I would just like to indicate how much I appreciate the team that has worked with us to build the educational trust within that constituency. And for last year alone, Madam Speaker, we spent $13 million in providing scholarships and support to hundreds of children, young people across not just Jamaica, but the world. And I'm proud of that program. And in the case of East Central St. James, it's 25 years old now. And over the years, we've had graduates in every single discipline that you can imagine. And every university in Jamaica today, every community college, and most high schools have students from the program. Every teacher's college has students from the program. And we have students in China. We have students now doing masters in linguistics in Madrid. We have them in London. We have them in the United States of America and in Canada. And one of the joys of my life is as I go to do the duties of government in cities after cities, there are graduates from my program who come to meet me and to show their appreciation for the work that they've done there. And this means a lot to me. And I like to just to indicate, Madam Speaker, that over the years we spent a lot of time, as I indicate, on primary, secondary, and tertiary education. This time, Madam Speaker, starting this year, we are going to not change our tack, but to go to another dimension in the education program for the constituency. And we are going to be breaking ground next month for the first ever Early Childhood Development Center for Innovation. And our Prime Minister came and he was the guest speaker at the function where we started the fundraising activities for it. And I'm proud to tell you that we have support from almost every walk of life towards the development of this innovation center, because it is going to be a game changer. Children 2 years to 5. That's the level that we start. And it will be an activation center, not the traditional classroom with chalk and blackboard. Every child will have a tablet. And we will have a space for parents to also come and to interact. The whole idea of starting the children at that age, Madam Speaker, is to recognize that the child is wired to learn. And the neurons in the brain multiply and are numerous during that period of time. And they die as we get older. And so the capacity to learn is the greatest during that period. We want to capture it. But we want to do something more. We want to go at both sides of the brain. So the program at the center will be in relation to the arts and to music, as well as to science and technology. And the whole idea is to enable these young children at the very tender age to not only develop ideas, but to be able to start converting ideas into practical and meaningful activities and action. And the whole idea, of course, is to create a new generation of innovativeness. And the emphasis is going to be on children whose parents are not of the economic means to allow them to enter any kind of institution of that kind. And I wouldn't want to tell you what happened in the first little effort at it, but I'm satisfied that the support for this center is there. It's going to cost us $1.5 million to complete it and to have it ready, and the timetable is for September 2024. US, 1.5 US. So, Madam Speaker, if ever there was an industry that has the potential to transform our nation, our communities, and the lives and livelihood of the Jamaican people for better, it is tourism. Tourism, Madam Speaker, is resilience and its ability to rally from lengthy downturns, as we saw with COVID-19, that induced standstill, as we call it, what some people call the entrepause, when the whole world literally was at a standstill and doing nothing. But it was more than that. It was also, Madam Speaker, a period of great uncertainty, when the world was trying to understand what was happening, and the whole process of trying to find a way became a highly iterative one, where it was all about trial and error. And for the first time, nobody had the full answer, and everybody was dependent on everybody else to find a way. And perhaps it brought the period, perhaps the only period in Anthropocene Earth when man really became truly interdependent and relied on each other to find their way. So allow me, Madam Speaker, to give a detail of the contribution of the tourism industry to Jamaica in the period. Madam Speaker, 2022 was a good year. Not only did tourism rebound at a record rate, but the tourism industry has been the driving force behind the post-pandemic economic recovery of the entire nation. Data from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, makes this abundantly clear. And Madam Speaker, I'm quoting now from the PIOJ's report in relation to the performance of January to December 22, when it reported that the gross domestic product increased by 5.1% compared to 2021. And this reflected an increase in real value added for the goods producing industry by 2.1%, and the service industry, which tourism is a part of, by 6% for the period. For 2022, Madam Speaker, the estimated growth in real value added for the hotel and restaurants industry, which is what tourism is defined as, was 48.9% compared to 2021. This feat, Madam Speaker, is even more remarkable when we consider that in 2021, the industry had just begun its recovery from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. The industry sector, Madam Speaker, contributed to the growth in the overall economy of the industries, such as agriculture, forestry, fisheries, which, Madam Speaker, contributed an estimated 9%. And one can be clear in indicating that much of that was, of course, induced by the recovery of tourism because of the demand that it brought for goods and services to be consumed by the visitors who come to the country. In 2022, Madam Speaker, we welcome 3.3 million visitors, a 117% increase over 2020. Madam Speaker, this estimated foreign exchange earnings was $3.7 billion, and it represented a 71.4% increase over 2021. Madam Speaker, but the better news in this regard is when we look at pre-COVID performance and what the numbers are at this time. And the 2019 figures, Madam Speaker, for the arrivals was 2.6 million, and we were able to find pretty close to 3 million arrivals, 3.3 million arrivals in 2022. Madam Speaker, the estimates for full recovery that we had for 2024, we projected that we would have $3.8 billion in revenue. The actual performance, Madam Speaker, is $4.1 billion. So, Madam Speaker, we are now projecting for 23. And I'm very pleased to indicate that the first quarter, and in fact, this is the biggest and best winter season that Jamaica has ever had in the history of tourism. We brought in 1.185, nearly 1.2 million visitors. And that's 94.4% higher than last year. And we brought in the process 1.12 billion US dollars, which is 46.4% increase over last year. But, Madam Speaker, the hard cold facts are that beyond the arrivals and the revenues that we speak about, people ask the question, so where is the revenue flowing to? And who gets the benefit of it? And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on as we show you, Madam Speaker, that never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a contribution to the Jamaican economy, and we are willing to continue that process and to make even greater contributions. And I'll give you a sense of this. In 2022, January to December, the revenues to the Minister of Finance's coffers. And you recall that he made very heavy weather of that in his own presentation. That $11.75 billion was paid over to the consult fund from the GART. You know what the GART is? That is the guest accommodation room tax. And the general consumption tax. Yes, that is for everybody. But 11 of that, 6 come directly, exactly. So, Madam Speaker, you know, that performance was almost double what it was in 2021, when it was $5 billion. And more importantly, Madam Speaker, it was 25% better than 2019, which was the best year in terms of our performance, when it was $9.4 billion. So, Madam Speaker, overall, during that 2022, January to December, from the Tourism Enhancement Fund collections, from the airport charges and the direct taxes, I haven't even included head tax yet, the travel tax. Tourism contributed a total here of 51.7 billion Jamaican dollars. Investments continue to boom to drive the industry's recovery, Madam Speaker. Over the last 5 years, tourism investment contributed 20% of the island's total foreign direct investment. And over the next 5 to 10 years, there are multiple upcoming investment projects which will see in addition of 15 to 20,000 new rooms with investment of 4 to 5 billion US dollars. Madam Speaker, the last fiscal year has seen my ministry, our public bodies, and our tourism partners continuing to build on the framework we put in place post-pandemic for a revitalized tourism product that is viable, equitable, and generates opportunities for all. Indeed, Madam Speaker, never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a contribution to the Jamaican economy. And we are going to do even more. Madam Speaker, as the aforementioned data suggest, tourism will be the biggest driver of our economic growth and prosperity, not just for now, but indeed for years to come. Our vast economic reach is not always easily understood, Madam Speaker. It is also more than visitors, and we want to make that point, that tourism is much more than visitors arriving. It's more than airlift, it's more than multi-billion-dollar investment. That tourism really is a confluence of so many parts that have to come together, that touch so many lives, that causes prosperity to be generated on so many people from varying areas of life different avocations, and also people of varying abilities and capabilities. One of the things that I say sometimes when I travel in the marketing world is that tourism is perhaps the only industry in the world where somebody could allow 2 little crabs to race and make a money. It's an amazing that it does not take a rocket scientist. Any average ordinary person who has an idea can convert that idea into some good, some material service, and make a living from tourism. And that's the power of that industry. So, Madam Speaker, the confluence of hotel workers, farmers, craft vendors, tour operators, red cap porters, contract carriers operators, attraction workers, and I could go on and on and on. All these are the beneficiaries of tourism. And I say it again, never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism made such a great contribution to the economy of this country. So, Madam Speaker, tourism is enjoying the growth I mentioned. So while I will outline now how the tourism and its public bodies are making this happen, I want also for us to put in place an understanding of the kind of architecture that is going to now enhance the diverse tourism product with policies, programs, and initiatives that we are putting together. fund now, Minister of Finance, of $1.076 billion that is now being invested in the economy. And so in the next 5 years, when the first cohorts of beneficiaries will come, that fund would have accreted to well over 10 billion. And then we'll begin to see the unfolding of a pool of funds that now is affordable, a stock of domestic savings, Minister, that will be there for investment so that we can have growth. The returns from which will stay in Jamaica because it is Jamaica savings and that's Jamaica capital. Madam Speaker, the workers of the industry have also recognized that there's need for a greater sense of social development that must attend them, and the government of Jamaica has moved in that direction. Housing for tourism workers has been a very important part of that strategy to ensure that we can spread more. And so in collaboration with our partners, Madam Speaker, we are looking at 2,500 houses that are currently being built and will be completed in the next 5 years for workers of the tourism industry. Now, Madam Speaker, that is not to conflate what currently is happening with the NHT program, where Estuary, for example, is doing 3,000 houses, of which the tourism workers in St. James and Hanover can benefit directly. Nor indeed, Madam Speaker, to speak of the Rhine Park Estates program, which has 784 units that are now being completed. But, Madam Speaker, to indicate that in addition, the NHT has a program for 1,286 units for Barrett Hall that is now to come on stream, and a number of other areas around Jamaica. But most importantly, Madam Speaker, the partners in tourism are saying, especially the new investors, and I'm very proud to say that today, in the discussion that I'm having, the first one, Hard Rock, 1,000 hotels, hotel workers' houses are projected for Grange Pen. Palladium, we were there last week with them. They have an investment expansion program to build 1,000 more rooms in Hanover, and they are building 650 houses at Point in Hanover for the workers of the industry. Princess, that is now finishing their first 1,000 rooms to start the 1st of January, are doing 500 dormitories for workers to be able to have accommodation in the air. So, Madam Speaker, what we're saying is that this government is not just talking about inclusion. This government is including the workers of the industry. Madam Speaker, a further innovation in this is that the Prime Minister's social housing program, we find a good model. We find a good model. And Madam Speaker, the JHTA and the Ministry, through the Tourism Enhancement Fund, are currently in discussion about how we can use the model. And I want us to listen to this, because a lot of people feel that tourism is for big land, and we're not doing anything for the little people. And what we are saying is that the JHTA and ourselves are now fine-tuning a model similar to the Prime Minister's social housing model, where we from the TEF will put $100 million, and they will match it to make sure that we can have 20 houses for workers of the industry every year for the next 5 years. And this will be under the social housing model. So the workers won't have to pay for it. They are in a position of need. We know the need. We recognize the difficulty. And from their own companies, they will be selected. So no politics will be involved in it. Nobody will have to say, Minister did this or TEF did that. It will be that the companies having regard to the quality of their workers and the state of the worker too, can enable small players to have this benefit of a house. Madam Speaker, talk about inclusive tourism. Last year, Madam Speaker, when we finished the program with the Exim Bank, and Minister of Finance, I want you to take care of this one for me. Because we put $1 billion in the Exim Bank for the purpose of providing on-lending arrangements for the small and medium tourism enterprises. And Madam Speaker, I'm proud to tell you that Exim has already disbursed $1.89 billion to 293 beneficiaries under the program. Small hotelers, little guys that have a little attraction over here, little guy with a little 9-room and a 5-room and a little Airbnb, and they can come and borrow at the lowest interest rates at the time, 4.5%, over 5 years, $25 million maximum, and they can go and refurbish and fix up their little place so that they can be inserted properly in the value chain of tourism. But that's not enough. From the Jamaica National Small Business Arrangement, Madam Speaker, we put $70 million, another revolving program. My good news for you is that we have provided 437 loans to little taxi man, little Juta man, little Jekyll man, little Maxi Tour man. Okay? And $983 million have been provided for those people over the last few years. And during the pandemic, Madam Speaker, we were able to reduce the interest on that to 0% during the pandemic, so that they were able to operate and survive. And now that the recovery has hit, they are recovering well and talking about it. Madam Speaker, the Tourism Linkage Network, through our Christmas in July program and our speed networking program, have brought to the platform hundreds of local producers and entrepreneurs to engage with the hospitality sector and corporate Jamaica. Since 2016, Madam Speaker, small business owners have earned $653 million in participating with our tourism speed network. And I'm telling you, when some companies, little companies that have become medium-sized companies now, make me proud. And I know that Brescia will not hold it against us to mention it here, because they are proud of the fact that they are one of the beneficiaries of this program. And today, they are not only making traveling bags that are efficient and useful, but they tell me now they're going to put wheels on them so that they will become useful as larger facility for travel in the country. Madam Speaker, we are proud of these efforts. And I want to make you know that the argument about the beach, we understand. And we are there with you on that. As a result of which, the Tourism Enhancement Fund has been carrying out a strong program of beach development. Oh yes, Pagé is one of them. But we want to just say clearly that this year, Madam Speaker, we are committed to 3 major beach development. 3 this year. Yes, because it is not just to clean up the beach and put in a little bathroom here and there. It is to give you a decent, world-class facility that make all Jamaicans proud to use it and visitors alike. So, Madam Speaker, in keeping with the program that the Prime Minister has announced, and if you recall that we started it in a big way with the Harmony Park in Montego Bay, where we, along with the UDC, we provided $1 billion to assist in that process. And now, with the Prime Minister's program, Negril will be the next major park development like the Harmony Park in Montego Bay, and that will be coming this year. Madam Speaker, Spruce Up program has brought thousands of people, ordinary people all around. And members of Parliament here will tell you that this is the first program that has touched 63 constituencies every year for the last 5 years. Talk to me about it. Everyone. Madam Speaker, for a small... Madam Speaker, and I think members are waiting to hear the next part of what Madam Speaker, nearly 300 communities in Jamaica have had small benefits that have made a difference. And my friend, the member from Southwest St. Andrew, has memories of this when we opened one such facility for her in her constituency. And yours is coming. Yes, yours is coming in a bigger way. And where's a member from Manchester Northwest? He isn't here today, but he has stories that he can tell. And every single member here has a story that you can tell in relation. But the good news is that because you've done so well with it, this year we'll increase it to 4 million to make sure that everybody has a plan. Madam Speaker, in addition, the Spruce Up program is going to take a new lease on life as the Destination Assurance Councils that we are establishing across the island will be taking a greater role in enabling improvement in the destinations. And so starting with Negril, again, Negril is being featured there. Where is the member from Western Westmoreland? And the good news here, Madam Speaker, is that the stakeholders in Negril are participating in this Spruce Up program, because already we have commitment for over $2 million from stakeholders in Negril to add to what we have to put together to make sure that the program can start off on a good footing in Negril early in May this year. So, Madam Speaker, all in all, 350,000 Jamaicans are employed either directly with the hotels, through villas, attractions, restaurants, and banks, Madam Speaker, because the financial system depends, I think 30%, I am told, of the financial system is dependent on tourism activities and tourism flows. Madam Speaker, when I speak to the big manufacturers of Jamaica, they all say the same thing. And I'm not going to call all the names, but even one decided that he would give us a testimonial, because when the tourism industry was down, their business was absolutely zero. And now that the industry is back, they are doing well again and expanding and doing much better. And one, of course, when he went to one hotel to sell water, and when the hotel told him what the demand was for water, just water, millions of bottles of water, he had to literally say to them, I'll come back to you and seek some partnership. That's the power of tourism, the most consumption-driven activity on planet Earth.
No, it's not finished yet. It's not finished yet.
Madam Speaker.
20 minutes.
Madam Speaker. I know. The minister has about 1 minute and 30 seconds left for his presentation.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the standing orders be suspended to enable the minister to continue his speech to its conclusion, notwithstanding the time limit on speeches.
Members, the question before the House is that the minister be given sufficient time to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it, Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will use the next 15 minutes to tidy up, Madam Speaker, because I think we've covered quite a bit of the grounds that we have, and I just wanted to indicate, Madam Speaker, that the recovery of which I spoke, The recovery of which I spoke, Madam Speaker, has not been without some issues. And I think that it's very important that we speak about that at this time, Madam Speaker, because we need to ensure that the entire country is in sync with the need for us to have a recovery that is as smooth as possible, that is as linear as possible. We know the difficulties there, but we've had challenges. And first challenge, Madam Speaker, has been to maintain a sustainable supply of skilled labor for the sector. And we recognize that to be a global challenge. It's well known. And I myself have a role playing internationally in terms of looking at the whole labor market arrangements in tourism and how we can enable a return to full employment as we had in 2019 and then to go beyond that. So Jamaica has been impacted by this problem, and our local and foreign investment partners seek to employ local workers in their organization in a bid to realize the returns. The issue is therefore, Madam Speaker, one of skilled labor supply being appropriately aligned to a fully developed compensation strategy that is designed to attract and retain the best of our labor force. Achieving this type of harmony is a pathway to resolving a very crippling issue of the industry, which will only become worse as the expansion of the sector continues apace. We continue to make solid advancement in this area, Madam Speaker, in filling some of the gaps through private and public sector efforts. However, some of these issues persist, and innovative solutions will have to be found and fast-tracked. And I think that some of it we have been hearing about. Prime Minister has been mentioning it, Minister of Labour has been mentioning it, and sector interests have been mentioning it. And it is for us to understand that as we continue to train, develop more skills, to certify more workers, to be able to classify them, Madam Speaker, and then to remunerate according to classification, the industry becomes more attractive, including some of the social measures that I mentioned earlier on. And so we think that we will be able to cover the grounds in short order. However, in the interim, there are issues and there are problems. And so whilst we are not making a call about bringing in, foreign workers or anything like that, we are making the point that we will have to ensure that the capacity to deliver on the demand that this recovery is presented is here in Jamaica, and we do not lose out because of human capital disruptions. Very, very important point. Now, achieving this type of harmony, Madam Speaker, is the pathway to resolving that very crippling problem. The second, of course, has to do with our supply chain logistics in general. And the member from West St. Andrew, who will speak next, and I have had a lot of discussions on that. And we have to look at how to enable the sufficiency of supplies so that this great, what we call entrepause period, when everything is happening again and people are moving and people are consuming and people are buying and people are traveling. And the story is that of all the activities on planet Earth now that will take a beating in a recession, travel and tourism remains number one of those that will not be touched. And that's an interesting point. And we see it happening everywhere. So we have to build capacity here for goods and services and food and parts and equipment and all the other supplies that are going to be needed to keep our plant and machinery afloat. So, Madam Speaker, the establishment of a global tourism resilience supply center is one of the proposals that we have on the table. The member and I have been talking about it too, but it has gained momentum now because we are finding suppliers across the world who are willing to transport goods to Jamaica for logistical purposes and then to redirect in nearshoring activities to the Caribbean and the rest of the Americas. So we are excited about moving forward with that. I've established a team under Wilfred Bagaloo to give us a full outline as to how this logistics supply center can be established and made functional in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, global inflation is another such challenge and concern that we have. As the global supply chain challenges and labor shortages, specifically, I know, go hand in hand, Madam Speaker, with inflation, and the impact on the industry is huge as it is varied. The high airline ticket prices, higher food prices, higher goods prices, labor costs increase, higher energy costs, and so on. And all those are factors that we have to deal with. So, Madam Speaker, capacity constraints and public order issues are more significant now than they were pre-COVID-19. And I want everyone to listen to this one for me, especially my friends on the other side. Because, Madam Speaker, the pandemic and the current boom in tourism members has drawn more and more of our citizens into the tourism space, offering a myriad of goods and services. So there's also a good thing, Madam Speaker, that so many more people are coming into the tourism space. But it also can be a bad thing if order and criminality and poor practices are made to creep in and provide, Madam Speaker, a disruption of the destination assurance that we offer to our visitors. So it takes one bad incident, Madam Speaker, just one damage at a location, and it destroys the destination, not just for weeks or months, but for years. I think we have a duty to ensure that persons entering this space follow the rules and are respectful of the importance of law and order. And, Madam Speaker, I have a difficulty when we try to excuse disorder on the basis of color, class, race, social standing, poor, rich, white, black, young, old. And I think that we have to take a strong position, all of us in this House, Madam Speaker, on both sides, irrespective of the political fallout that it may cause. Let us stand up for good law and order and discipline in the society. Because that discipline is not just to supply an opportunity for one side. It is to enable a possibility for all sides. And if once we understand that, Madam Speaker, then I'm sure our rhetoric will change and our actions equally. So, Madam Speaker, I must also underscore that even though Jamaica is perceived in some quarters of having a challenge in terms of safety, the record shows that our record of visitor safety in Jamaica is enviable across the world, with a record of 0.1% of all the crimes committed against our visitors. And I think that this is something that we should take note of. And when the member from St. James Northwest and our Minister of National Security and the Police Commissioner announced a 20% reduction in crime in the first quarter of this year, that was good news for all of us, and I think we want to commend it. Madam Speaker, our roadways and our easement expansion are the conduits to the resort areas, and they must become important, Madam Speaker, for all of us to manage together. Our Prime Minister has outlined a number of plans to begin the expansion of these roadways, including highways, and our Minister of Finance himself made reference to a $274.5 million project for the Montego Bay Perimeter Road, which is to begin now to ease some of that pressure and to create a bypass, Madam Speaker, of some 25 kilometers of roadways. We have also, Madam Speaker, from the International Finance Corporation, the good work of our Minister, that we will be able to provide the corridor from Rose Hall to Ochereas to create a new opportunity for access and connectivity on the North Coast, bypassing the bottleneck areas of Priory and Discovery Bay and Runaway Bay and so on. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, for us in the West, a continuation of the bypass road that will start in Montego Bay to bypass now Hopewell, a rail bottleneck, and Lucy, a real bottleneck, so that access to Negril will be easy. And Madam Speaker, all of these are very important issues that we know they represent challenges, but the good news is that we are responding to them, and we're responding well. Our Minister of National Security and our Minister of Transport have been working with the airports, and we have had bottlenecks in the airport, as we know, as a consequence also of the recovery and the extent to which the recovery has been strong. We now have real difficulty maneuvering in the immigration halls and so on of the Montego Bay International Airport in particular. And the good news is that the investment is there. 70 million the Prime Minister announced for further addition, the extension of the runway, and there's going to be an improvement of the immigration and the reception halls. We are going to make sure that the visitor facilitation, resulting also from the use of technology, better technology, e-gates to be established, Madam Speaker, right? We're going to dispense with the C5 form so that visitors coming to Jamaica now on the plane don't have to fill out any forms anymore, and you'll be able to come and your data, your biometric information will be there so that you can. So, Madam Speaker, all these are a very important part of the facilitation that we are involving in to remove and ease the challenges that I indicate to you resulting from our recovery. Madam Speaker, we have already spoken to much of what we want to do in terms of building the platform and the architecture for the way forward. The labour market, Madam Speaker, is a major concern for us. And I want to make that point very clear because at another point earlier in the financial debate, I heard comments in regards to the labour market arrangements, and I agree. We have to do something about it. And we have been. That's the good news. Because with the training program that we've had is to build what we call stackable credentials in the industry so that we can classify the workers of the industry and by so doing remunerate according to classification. That will be a game changer in terms of the whole labour market arrangement. Providing social development through housing, which we have spoken about, the pension plan that we have had. And all these are vital elements to change the whole labour market arrangement and to make the tourism sector a more attractive place for workers and for better rewards for the workers of the industry. But a question that is there for us, Madam Speaker, is that we don't want to just be talking about it without evidence base. And we are driven by evidence base. Our action and our policies are driven by evidence base. So we have established, Madam Speaker, a task force headed by Dr. Waller, and already we have put out the RFP for consultants to come in and for us to look carefully now at all the elements, bring in the trade unions and everybody else to let us look at the labour market arrangements in tourism so that we can find a path that will enable us to recover well and to not leave a single worker behind. Madam Speaker, innovation is at the heart of the way forward for tourism. And we believe in investing in ideas. And you might have heard me only last week in Washington calling on the IFIs to invest in ideas. And tourism for us is built on ideas. It's always about what's new. It's always about what's different. It's always how you can add value and do something better than somebody else somewhere else. And that's why we are spending, Madam Speaker, $40 million on bringing young people into an incubator arrangement with ideas. Already, we have 17 groups, and I think it's 27 young people. Some of them are here. Anyone to raise a hand? Yes? Young people from the incubator? Yes, yes, yes. And Madam Speaker, what they're saying is that these are young people with no capital. These are people with no collateral. These are people whose only collateral are their ideas. And we put treasure on ideas because that's how we're going to make the difference in tourism in the future. And so we are training and building their capacity. But we're doing more than that. When these 17, this first cohort is finished in May, Then they need now to have startups. And they need to transfer from the state of ideas where the goods and services are being determined into action. And we are putting $100 million from our fund, Madam Speaker, to enable that transition, working with NBJ and with the Ministry of Finance to make sure that we can expand the group of young people from across Jamaica who will be the real definers of the new experiences of tourism for the future. We're excited about that, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are strong in building capacity to add more visitors to the country. And airlift, airlift, airlift. Everybody says that. You don't swim to Jamaica. You have to fly. And so we are active out there, Madam Speaker, getting new airlines to come to Jamaica. We have expansions with the American Airlines Group, Frontier Airlines, Spirit Airlines, Arajet, a new carrier that is coming from Damrep to Jamaica now, and also with back-end arrangements into South America. We're going into dealing, Madam Speaker, with expanding the work of LATAM from Peru, Avianca from Colombia, Copa Airlines, and next week, Madam Speaker, the team, which I will lead with the Director of Tourism and Delano, will be going to the Arabian travel market to engage the big four from the GCC countries. That is Saudi and a new airline that they have just from out of Jeddah, and Qatar and Emirates. Yesterday, Emirates sent me their miniature 387. So when you come to my office now, you'll see the Emirates 387. Now that the runway has been expanded, and we hope to have that ready by summer, right, at MBJ, we will be able to say when we go to Dubai next week to Emirates, yes, you can start thinking now about flying to Montego Bay and then be able to remain from Montego Bay. So, Madam Speaker, our cruise industry is back on track. We're expecting to go back to new ways at the end of summer this year. But, Madam Speaker, I want to close this section because I know that there's another opportunity at the back end. And so I'm going to save some more of this for the back end. But, Madam Speaker, I cannot close without talking about the investment opportunities that we, and I want to, Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance will bear with me if I boast a little bit. Because I believe that this investment portfolio that tourism is unfolding now is the largest and most impressive in the history of tourism in Jamaica. 20,000 new rooms to come, Madam Speaker, over the next 5 to 10 years. And they are distributed in all the parishes. In St. Anne, we have Palm Beach Villa with 100 rooms. Secrets Resort, 700 rooms. Bahia Principe for 2,500 more. Sandals Royal Duns River, 1,000. Sandals Duns, yes, a total here of 570 plus 400, 900 rooms from Sandals alone in St. Anne. Madam Speaker, in Trelawney, Harmony Cove, yes? Minister of Finance, Harmony Cove, yes, 1,000 room and more. Planet Hollywood for 650 rooms. The real Aquil, 753. That should be finished early next year. And of course, Excellence Oyster Bay, 50 rooms. Over in St. James, Madam Speaker, the Unico Hard Rock Casino and associated hotels, 2,000 rooms. In Vista Ambassadors, 432 rooms. Dream Resort, 280 rooms. And over in Hanover, the new Star, Hanover will have 4,000 new rooms in the next 3 years. Princess with 2,000, Grand Palladium 950, Viva Wyndham 1,000, and Sanders the Grill. I don't even put a figure there yet because Adam don't finish telling me how many rooms are going to be there, added there. So, Madam Speaker, what we're saying here is that when you add that to Westmoreland, and where is the member from Central Westmoreland? So, Westmoreland, and you know, every time people talk about Westmoreland and tourism, they say Negri. Right? But we have other things for them now. Savlamar. All right. Nothing more said than that. and that is going to be a game changer, Madam Speaker. That facility is going to be a game changer. Because it's not just about hotels here now. It's about creating a whole ecosystem, a whole tourism ecosystem in Paradise in Westmoreland. Madam Speaker, for the metropolitan area of Kingston, the Hilton 300 room that is about to come on stream. And of course, you remember the ROK downtown. And when you look at what has happened downtown, Madam Speaker, it's a statement that yes, downtown, Member Williams, downtown can come back alive. And I'm proud to see in the short space of time with that 168 room facility there, what they have done and how profitable, that's important, it has been in the 3 months. So, Madam Speaker, Portland, Dragon Bay, Portland, and Portland is set, Madam Speaker, with the Prime Minister's program to become the real mecca of what I call sustainable tourism. And we're working on that. High-end tourism. St. Thomas. St. Thomas is the new oyster in the east. We have already done the work on that. My PS and team have done the detailed research on it, and we are ready. And there's right now a local investor from St. Thomas with 1,000 rooms in St. Thomas. And in addition, I'm talking with some investors from the Dominican Republic that were here a few weeks ago, and they want to come now and look at creating a whole village, a tourism village, similar to the one they have in the Dominican Republic. I'm not calling any name at this time. But it will tell you, St. Thomas is ready for the move, and the Prime Minister has made all the investments in there right now. The roadway, the Southern Highway, has now become the real access point for new development in that area. Less than an hour from Norman Manley Airport to any part of St. Thomas now. That's music to the ears of investors. Madam Speaker, we are excited about, we have St. Mary. St. Mary, I'm telling you, I'm discussing now. Yes. We don't want to tell them because the St. Mary product is going to be a little different from what we have elsewhere. It's besides villas being the mainstay along that corridor, the Jamaica Riviera as we're calling it, right? It's going to be a higher end of product, but also it's going to be tied to entertainment. Because there's a group that is now having that discussion with us that we won't say very much more yet until later on. Madam Speaker, the shared economy. The shared economy, Madam Speaker, has become, in our point, the most innovative of what we call the process of democratization in tourism. The ownership of the accommodation sector is seeing a transition. But it's not a transition that is going to eviscerate any. It's a transition that is going to add value to many. Because now, with the sharing economy, Madam Speaker, tourism is in every crevice and corner of Jamaica. You see tourists down Trenchtown. You see tourists on Maxwell Avenue. You see that Spanish Town. You see them in Red Hills Road. You see them up in Octem Betty. I'm going to send for you to come. They're all over the place because of the sharing economy. Most people refer to it as Airbnb. Madam Speaker, just to let you know that 29% of the visitors who came to Jamaica last year came through Airbnb. And And they, Madam Speaker, I don't know. and they, Madam Speaker. And they, Madam Speaker, said tourism is for the big man. And the little people are not inserted therein. I just want to say again, Madam Speaker, that never before in the history of Jamaica has tourism done so much for the economy of Jamaica. So, Madam Speaker, in closing, really I want to just indicate that the future of tourism is bright in Jamaica. We have the vision, we have the sense of it, and we are driven by a mission that will create an inclusive industry for our country. So, Madam Speaker, I just want to say that we will continue to push forward with the key priority projects and initiatives to shape tourism governance infrastructure to boost the sustainable development of the sector. Madam Speaker, we will build capacity by upskilling and certifying thousands of Jamaicans to work in the tourism industry. We want to create a secure future for our tourism workers through the Tourism Workers Pension Plan and adequate, affordable housing. We want to strengthen the linkages, Madam Speaker, with other sectors of the economy, particularly agriculture and manufacturing, and to provide a benefit for more small farmers, farmers with 1 acre, half acre, quarter acre, 3 acres, no more than 5 acres, so that they can have a place in the sun and get a piece of the tourism pie. We want to ensure, Madam Speaker, that the small and medium tourism enterprises, the little guys, the little taxi man, the little juta man, the little maxi taxi man, all have an opportunity to have a stake in the tourism industry and to provide funding for them. We want to boost the industry for local communities through festivals, more coffee festival, more rum festival, more bacchanal, more Madam Speaker, we want to boost the benefit of the industry to our local communities by expanding the Spruce Up program to allow more communities to get a benefit from the industry. We want to promote broader participation by all Jamaicans. We want to ensure, above all now, Madam Speaker, and I want our opposition and everybody to share in this one with me, we want to ensure safety, security, and sustainability of our natural and built resources. We want to invest millions of dollars from Jamaican funds. We want more Jamaicans, Madam Speaker, to be inserted in this rich, lucrative tourism value chain. Yes, this government, for the first time, can say more has been done for the economy of Jamaica because of tourism than any other time in our history. God bless you.
Mr. Tourism.
Minister B?
Mr. Tourism. They're coming to Holland.
Yes, my son.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I now ask that the sectoral debate be suspended. What a presentation, colleagues.
Yes.
Madam Speaker, we're not yet ready to suspend the debate. We have our second speaker. Madam Speaker,